Welcome to EDID 6150, Design, Development, and Evaluation of Digital Instructional Materials. This is Module 6, Educational Copyright Laws. The objectives for Module 6 are: discuss copyright law and how it pertains to the distribution of educational digital materials, evaluate the fair use law and how it impacts the creation of digital materials, investigate how to copyright original digital materials, Creative Commons licenses categories, and methods to distribute instructional materials, and to reflect on the need for ethical behavior concerning the proper use of digital tools, including copyright and acceptable use policies. The topics for Module 6 are contextual limitations on the development, distribution, and reuse of instructional materials, the application of copyright law, fair use, and licensing as it pertains to education, copyright law, fair use law, licensing, redistribution, and maintaining OER repositories and licensing arrangements. The most common mistake an educator makes is not understanding the limitation of copyright laws. Many think they are safe to use any instructional material for their classes without following the specific guidelines of the copyright for reproduction, distribution, and reusing. In this module, we will cover the different types of copyright laws and how educators can properly use copyrighted instructional materials. We will also cover how to license your OER projects through the Creative Commons. The three laws that educators should be aware of when developing or repurposing instructional materials are copyright law, fair use law, and licensing. Copyright law grants authors and artists the exclusive right to make and sell copies of their works, the right to create derivative works, and the right to perform or display their works publicly. These exclusive rights are subject to a time limit and generally expire 70 years after the author's death. The owner of the copyright has the exclusive right to do and to authorize others to reproduce, distribute, display, or digitally transmit their copyrighted works. An example is a doctoral graduate can copyright their dissertation, which gives the graduate the rights to sell the document and prevents the reproduction and distribution of the dissertation unless permission from the author is given. There are 5 types of license commonly used in education. The open license, which is free to share, adapt, or modify. The free license, which is free to access, not necessarily allowed to share, adapt, or modify. The fair use license permits limited use of material for educational purposes without acquiring permission from the copyright holder. Public domains are works that are publicly available because the intellectual property rights have expired or have been forfeited. And pay, where faculty adopts a book from a traditional publisher, students pay for the textbooks, and this could be a physical or an e-book. The fair use law permits limited use of copyrighted material without having to first acquire permission from the copyright holder. The Copyright Act establishes a 4-factor test, known as the fair use test, to use to determine whether a use of copyright work is fair use that does not require permission of the copyright owner. These are purpose, the purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of a commercial nature or is for a nonprofit educational purpose, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and sustainability of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole, and the effect the effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. Educational examples of the fair use checklist. Purpose of the use. Material should be used in class only for the purpose of serving the needs of a specified educational program. Students should not be charged a fee specifically or directly for materials. Nature of the work. Only those portions of the work relevant to the educational objectives of the course should be used in the classroom. The law of fair use applies more narrowly to highly creative works. Accordingly, avoid substantial excerpts from novels, short stories, poetry, modern art images, and other such materials. Instructors should not distribute copies of consumable materials such as test forms and work page books that are meant to be used and repurchased. Amount of the work. Materials used in the classroom will generally be limited to brief works or brief excerpts from longer works. For example, use a single chapter from a book, an individual article from a journal, and an individual news article. The amount of work used should be related directly to the educational objectives of the course. Effect of the use on market for the original. The instructor should consider whether the copying harms the market or sale of the copyrighted material. Materials used in the class should include a citation to the original source of the publication and a form of the copyrighted notice. The instructor should consider whether the materials are reasonably available and affordable for the students to purchase, whether as a book, course pack, or other format. The most widely used OER licenses are the Creative Commons licenses, which make it possible for educators to freely and legally share their work. Creative Commons licenses work with a copyright to automatically give users a set of usage rights pertaining to that work. When something is licensed with a Creative Commons license, users know how they are allowed to use it. Since the copyright holder retains the copyright, the user may still seek the creator's permission when they want to reuse the work in a way that's not permitted by the license. Every Creative Commons license, except the public domain designation, requires users to give attribution to the creator of the work. The Creative Commons licensing restrictions include attribution. You must give appropriate credit, provide a link to the license, and indicate if changes were made. You may do so in any reasonable manner, but not in a way that suggests that the licensor endorses you or your use. Non-commercial. The material cannot be used for any commercial purpose. Share alike. If you remix, transform, or build upon the material, you must distribute your contributions under the same license as the original. And non-derivative works. If you remix, transform, or build upon the material, you may not distribute the modified material. Please note that works licensed with the ND or no derivative works restrictions are not considered an OER.